It's good to be here with you today. I want to thank Marie for inviting me. I'm Karen Eberly. I am Marie told me to introduce myself, and so I tried quickly to think of a few things that would introduce me. I'm a retired associate pastor of Manchester Church of the Brethren. Uh, my husband and I, Gary, have 3 children, grown, and we have 4 grandchildren, and a menagerie of grand animals, if you want to count those too. Um, I enjoy cooking and baking. I enjoy reading. There are lots of things I like to do, but I'm glad to be with you today. Those who are in the chapel and those who might be listening or watching now or who might watch later tonight. As I was thinking about the theme for today, I must admit I was a bit conflicted. We are in varying degrees of summer. Late summer, at least by school standards. 2 of my grandchildren start school by the end of July, which seems ridiculous to me, but that's my personal opinion. They're the last Tuesday. Wait, is it the last Tuesday of July? I think so. They start school. So that seems very early. The other 2 grandchildren start in August, and here in Manchester, they start by, I think, the 8th or 9th of August. I don't have to keep track of those schedules anymore, but it's interesting to think as we are mid-July, in terms of school, we're in late summer. By gardening standards, we're in a prolific time of summer. The produce is beginning to come. We've had green beans, kohlrabi, which aren't my particular favorite, I must admit. My husband remembers them with fondness from his growing up days. And I have found a recipe for kohlrabi slaw, which I've promised to try. I'll let you know how it tastes. So we've had green beans, kohlrabi, what else? Lettuce, spinach, no tomatoes yet, which makes me sad because that's the thing I like the most from the garden, fresh tomatoes. And I think we're in an unusual time of summer in terms of weather. The current heat and storms and flooding, maybe that says we're only halfway through summer. But I think we're only halfway through summer because my birthday standards. Now, for you, that's not necessarily important, but for me, I think of my birthday as a halfway point of the summer. My birthday is July 2nd, and as luck would have it, Dorothy Weldy and I share our birthdays. We are birthday twins. A few years apart, but we share our birthday. I won't tell you Dorothy's age for her birthday this year. You can ask her that. That's not my job to tell you, but I can tell you that this birthday I turned 70. I was fine with that number for the most part until friends got me a lovely, delicious lemon blueberry lavender cake that said on the top, "Happy 70th birthday." And I looked at it and I went, "Oh my goodness, who was that old?" And it was me. I think any birthday over 90 is special. And my birthday at 70 seems pretty special to me too. Several weeks ago, when Marie asked for my theme for this afternoon's Oasis program, I struggled with the topic. And that struggle seemed to be reflecting upon my upcoming birthday, which entailed looking ahead to a new decade. It's probably not a coincidence that recently many people have been asking me, "So, What are you doing now? Maybe I have been singularly focused as my birthday has come and gone, and I look to a new decade of living. However, it does seem that many, many more people have been asking me that question in the past 6 weeks. Now, to the question of the afternoon, I want to share how the question is asked by three different groups of people. The first group of people ask, "So, what are you doing now?" I hear their question and I wonder if they can't imagine what I could possibly do to occupy all my time. The second group of people ask either, "So, what are you doing now?" or, "So, what are you doing now?" I hear those questions and I wonder if they think I either have nothing important to do or nothing of value to offer. The third and final group of people ask, "So, what are you doing now?" I hear those people and I wonder if I'm giving and doing enough in the world. Well, I realize my reactions to those questions tell you more about me and less about the people who ask me. And in all honesty, the people who ask are well meaning in their questioning. It has caused me to think not only about the question, but about my response. Now, I promised that today I would not ask you to share what you are doing now. It didn't seem fair, but I will give you a challenge at the end of our time together. My first response is to feel that I need to justify how I spend the time I have been given in retirement. Perhaps you've all moved past the need to justify yourself or to others all the things you do each day. I hope you're comfortable with your choices and in many, many ways use your resources. I must confess, however, that I'm still learning how to work through the question of what are you doing now? I hope I'm getting closer day by day and learning by the valuable examples each of you offer. I would love to blame my confusion and hesitancy of a firm answer on my heritage. I could say, "I'm brethren and we believe in service." Or, "I have Swedish German ancestors who believed in a strong work ethic. But I remember my grandparents sitting by the fire reading books." So that doesn't work. I could even look at the cultural norms in which value means productivity, staying busy, and accomplishing many different tasks in the day. While those answers certainly have a bearing on how I frame my answer to the question, "What are you doing now?" my previous answers seem to be a simple explanation of a very complex situation. Soon after I retired, I wondered what I would do with all my time. Maybe that's why the question, "What are you doing now?" still causes me to search for an appropriate answer that fits with where I am and how I'm continuing to grow into a new reality. As many of you know, in April of 2020, just as COVID provided a lockdown for all of us, I discovered the joy of painting with watercolors. I'm still painting, and I love it. And I finally understand that doing something enjoyable is an important part of being with each day. It's also an important answer to the question, "What are you doing now?" See, I'm trying to grow in retirement, believing I should actively do something and set that away. However, in the beginning, I must confess, I thought doing meant doing and working hard at doing it. So I thought an important task would be to sort through all the stuff in our home. I know it was a daunting task. However, I thought, well, how hard can it be? So I bought the book, The Gentle Art, gentle being the operative word, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, How to Free Yourself and Your Family from a Lifetime of Clutter. While the title of the book is a bit daunting and perhaps even morose, as I read through it, I found it to be extremely helpful in thinking about all the stuff we accumulate through our lives. Gary and I have lived in our current house since fall of 1977. That's a few years ago. I can't do the math in my head. Some of you maybe could. I can't. It's a long time. It's a lot of stuff. Her first suggestion in the book is to sort through and clean out the shelf in your coat closet. I thought to myself, how hard can that be? Well, let me tell you. 2 hours later, I had everything out of the closet on the floor in the entryway, and I'm sorting through hats, mittens, gloves, scarves, coats, shoes, boots, and all the other assorted stuff that finds its way into the closet because it didn't have any other home. I was wondering about the validity of the premise of the book, and what I learned in that moment, one can accumulate a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. And the title of the book might be appropriate. I might die before I could ever finish the entire house. I quickly put the book on the shelf. But this past winter, as Gary was recovering from his triple bypass heart surgery, I pulled the book off the shelf. And Gary and I decided we would sort through the stuff that had been stored in our attic. I made certain that every box that was carried down was not over the weight limit for him to lift, and if it was, we carried it together, which provided some hilarity along with getting the box down out of the attic. We kept a few important items, gave some items to the thrift store, recycled and threw a lot away, but mostly we wondered why we'd saved all that stuff in the first place. While you might not have a shelf or a coat closet or an attic that needs to be sorted through, you could have a box in your garage or a cage of things in the basement here at Timbercrest, which are out of your sight that could benefit from your attentiveness. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I imagine there are a few nooks and crannies in your room or your home where you could find things. Maybe you're fortunate and you've sorted through all your material belongings, and yet you find there are a few remaining connections with people you need to make, perhaps to heal an old hurt, or to mend a fence, or to ask for forgiveness for a hurt you caused another person. It might be as simple as writing a note of appreciation to someone or making a phone call to express gratitude for a kindness extended many years ago. Those are also important things to tend to. But let's go back to the original question. So, what are you doing now? I believe my response to the question now depends on who is asking me. If it's a casual walking past question, like, how are you doing? It's easy for me to answer with the response, I'm finding a lot of things to keep me busy. If someone asks me with a willingness to hear, I'll answer more specifically, depending on the particular setting. If it's a serious question in the midst of a conversation with someone leaning in, interested in my response, I will answer in depth with attentiveness to my feelings as well as sharing information. 2 of our 4 grandchildren live in Fort Wayne. For the past 2 years, our grandson Miller has attended Beacon Heights Preschool. His mom often calls me from the car as they are driving to school so we can chat. Now, it's not his mom and I can chat. It's so Miller and I can chat. As you can imagine, our conversations are widely varied and simply delightful. One morning in mid-May, he was sharing all the things he was seeing along the way, with a commentary of his thoughts about everything, such as the ducks that were swimming on the pond. They were looking for their breakfast or a mid-morning snack. Or the red cement truck with stars that was twirling. You know what I mean when I say twirling. He explained to me that the twirling meant that the truck had cement in it and it was going to a job, probably to make a basement for a building that would sell stuff. You get the idea of our conversation. He was quiet for a few seconds and then said to me, "Emmy," that's what our grandchildren call me, Emmy. I don't know how it happened. It just did. And I answer every time. "Emmy, what's on your agenda for today?" I opened my eyes wide and thought, oh my goodness, he's not even 6. Does he even understand an agenda? I was quiet for a moment, and then I responded honestly, "Miller, today I was planning on painting for a bit in my studio, and then after lunch, I'm going to read my book on the screened-in porch. I might even take a nap." He commented on my agenda by saying, "That sounds wonderful." I paused for a moment and then asked what was on his agenda for the day. He replied, "Well, since I'm going to preschool, I will play with my friends, do a craft, have story time with Miss Carrie, and then have a snack. When I get home after lunch, I think I'll create something," which means a lot of tape and paper. "I'll Lego, and I'll play outside." I answered him, "That sounds wonderful." Our simple exchange that morning continues to release me from having to explain what I'm doing now in terms of efficiency and results to experiences and possibilities. What does time look like as we age? What activities are of value to us now? Do we plan our day today as we planned it even a year ago? What is rest and renewal? How do we honor it in our lives? Is there any time for daily reflection or meditation or prayer or connection with others? Do we leave room in our days for moments of delight or surprise or gratitude? So if you ask me today, "So what are you doing now?" I would share with you about how meaningful it is to work with others to create the arrangements on the communion table for worship. I would talk with you about the value of early learning and how important the work of the Manchester Early Learning Center is for the youngest children in our community. I would share about how wonderful it is to be available for family, to pick up our Indianapolis granddaughter from her awesome experience at Camp Max Sampler Camp just yesterday. She liked boating and sleeping the best. And to meet her mom in Swayze for the handoff. I would talk about how I love being able to spend open-ended time with friends to share and laugh together. One friend recently has had a health situation, and I've been able to walk with her through that and spend time with her and ask her questions. And that's been precious time together. When asked the question, "What are you doing now?" I'm learning to answer with more openness, with deeper honesty, and hopefully with a grateful heart for all each day has to offer. I pray it's the same for you. Now comes your assignment. This is what you were waiting for. In the coming days, I encourage you to think about your agenda for the day. Does it include joy, rest, availability, reflection, and prayer? Maybe reading, maybe watching the birds, maybe enjoying the flowers outside your window. I encourage you to talk with each other at mealtime or in the hall, or even go to someone's room or home and talk with them. Ask the question, what are you doing now? And listen to the answer with an open heart. I think it can change us. I believe it can change our relationships, and maybe even it could change the world. Thank you so much for being here together.